Yeah.
Yep. Hi guys, this is Keane from Football Obsession. Today I'm with Zeeshan, also known as the Masked Football Fan. There's a link to his channel in the description, so just go and check it out. I've also left a link to his Twitter as well, so go and check that out. You interact with me a lot, don't you? I've sort of interacted with you since a small amount of followers, and you think
quite a bit.
we've had some great interactions despite not enjoying United at the moment. But today, obviously, as everyone can tell by the title, we're going to be discussing what next for Man United, because that's everyone's question. Where do we go from here? Like we've had one good performance against Spurs, but that's basically our only good performance in about 8 weeks. So where do we go from here? So the general topics that we'll be talking about today is next manager, because it looks like it's not working with Ollie, even though the board probably won't sack him. So which manager will we have next? New coaching staff, players ins and outs, what next for this season, and do we need a rebuild with time and money in similar to 2018 and 19? So we'll just start off. Are we both in agreement that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be sacked, despite obviously him being a club legend?
Well, I think with him being sacked, and he's out of his depth. That's true. But the thing is, I can't really think of any manager to take over. I agree that he should be sacked, though, definitely.
Okay. So I agree that he should be sacked, and I think there's a narrative going around at the minute that I've seen that match-going fans, as myself as a match-going fan, that match-going fans are still supporting Ollie and still backing Ollie. I just want to say for anyone that is,
you can understand why.
Well, I can understand why, yeah. However, I just want to say for anyone watching this, as myself as a match-going fan, not many people are supporting Ollie and backing Ollie anymore. It was very, very clear. The past 2 games, he's out of his depth completely, and it was very clear that this just can't really continue, and we can't continue in this situation. So obviously, we're both in agreement that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is out of his depth. As sad as that's been, I'm gonna ask you: would you, out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being great and 10 being the best and 1 being the worst, how much, what would you rate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's time at United as a manager?
I would say probably 6 or 7, 5 or 7.
Okay,
6.
So 6.
I'd say.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah. I just think that from the stage when he came in, the position where we were, the damage that Van Gaal had done, Mourinho had done, he's definitely taken us up from there. So that's definitely a step up. But considering the amount of semi-finals and the Europa League final that we lost, that put it quite down.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I would personally have to say 7. Again, we've just not had any trophies. I would argue that this team isn't good enough to win trophies, which we will touch on in a few minutes. But with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think it's been really exposed that he hasn't really got tactics at all. I'm not one of the I'm not sort of in doom and gloom where it's like we're never going to win a game again under Ole, because we are. Let's be honest. But we make hard work of every single game, whether that's against Watford, which we play on Saturday, or whether that's against Arsenal or City, etc. We make hard work of every single game. There's never a game where you look at Liverpool when they played Watford, they beat them 5-0. There's never a game where we're gonna say we're gonna batter these, and it's just never confident with that. So I would say it's a 7, because the mood of the club, sort of the mood of the club I know right now is awful. However, the general mood of the club is massively on an upwards trajectory for quite a while. And with Mourinho, with Van Gaal, with Moyes, with Carrick as interim, and with Ryan Giggs as interim, it was never that. That was never the case. It was always we're not really happy with where we are at the moment. And I know we're not right now. But looking at things from a general realistic point of view, do you think this team is good enough to win trophies?
In my opinion, I don't think it's good enough to win a Premier League because Premier League requires
Yeah.
consistency throughout the season, and we don't have the depth. We have the depth in attack, but everything
Yeah.
else is not there. To win an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup, I think under the good manager, we could win a Champions League with this squad, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because with the Champions League, how many games are there?
7, is it?
6 plus about
It's like
overall.
7
There's
knockout,
about
obviously, and you've got 6 in the
yeah,
in the group stage, so it's like 13, isn't it?
so about 20.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something like that.
Oh, so about yeah. Sorry, 13. Yeah, that's enough. Our squad should be able to handle that. And yeah, we're lacking in certain areas like a CDM, but under the right manager, I think it would blossom. You can't blame one position
No.
or another position for the failure because we do have an incredible squad. Don't about that.
I disagree with you in the sense of we have an incredible squad.
Is it?
I do not think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a good enough manager to take us to trophies. However, I disagree that the squad's good enough. I think in recent weeks, it's really been exposed. We know the midfield's not good enough. We know that. We also
Yeah.
know Paul Pogba doesn't perform consistently. But then, in my opinion, we've got a centre back who
Yeah.
isn't good enough in Harry Maguire at the moment. I'm trying to back him. Like I'm really trying to back him and genuinely hoping that he comes good, which we all will be hoping that he comes good. And then you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who I would argue isn't really good enough. So that's like 4 or 5 positions in our starting 11 that aren't good enough, in my opinion. That it's debatable. Obviously, it sort of swings and roundabouts because we've got one of the best attackers in the world in Ronaldo. We've got another one of Europe's elite in Marcus Rashford. So it's obviously swings and roundabouts. However, with this squad, I don't think it would be good enough to win a Champions League or any trophy, like top level trophy, so Premier League, Champions League.
Do you not even think an FA Cup?
No, because I think the mentality is
An FA
I think
Cup?
the mentality is sort of kind of weak because you've got players that are trying the best, and then you've got players that are not trying the best, and it's sort of a mix and match. You've got players who again aren't happy with the squad, with the reinforcements and the manager as well and the staff, but I would argue that this midfield, this squad is not good enough. So I've said centre back, right back, and 3 midfielders, 2 or 3 midfielders. Which positions would you argue that we need to strengthen in?
I would agree in we need a CDM,
Yeah.
and if Van der Beek, he seems like he's going to leave in January, so I think we need a replacement for him. Pogba probably going to leave in next summer, so you
Yeah.
need another one for him, and I think you probably need a few centre backs and probably a right back to challenge for Wan-Bissaka's spot. But I'm a really big I really like Dallo. I would give him an extended run because I know he's very attacking, but I actually really enjoy how he plays. I think he could do really well under the right manager.
Yeah. We could definitely give him a chance. I would argue that anyone should be given a chance under a new manager. However, you've also got to say then these players that haven't performed consistently for many years. You've got Anthony Martial, who hasn't performed consistently. That's obviously a fringe player at the moment. You've got Paul Pogba again, who hasn't performed very consistently. Even Harry Maguire, to a certain extent, hasn't performed very consistently. However, you've got, for me, with the right back, like as you were discussing right back there, I would argue, like I'm sure you've seen, like on my social media on Twitter, I have a sort of obsession, like in football with Tariq Lamptey. I really would love Tariq Lamptey at United.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen that.
I've been pushing the Tariq
Yeah,
Lamptey
I've seen
prop,
that.
as people say, and for me, he sort of resembles what I would love at United. He's obviously not a Gary Neville. He's not a Antonio Valencia. He's not that level, but he's a level which I would say is good enough for us. And I would argue that the 2 right backs that we've got in the squad currently aren't good enough. Now, I was having a debate with people about Ethan Laird the other day, and I was saying I don't really focus on the youth enough to sort of say that he's good enough or will be good enough. So with Ethan Laird, I've heard great things about him, and I hope he comes through, but I don't focus on the youth enough. So would you argue that we should give Dalot a run of games instead of buying a new right back?
I think other than Tariq Lamptey, I did a bit of research. The only other option right back out there is Trippier, who's quite expensive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really want to spend too much money on him. Possibly Livramento, but he just signed, so he'd be quite expensive. So I'd say that I'd give Dalot a go, and I think he could do a job there. If he can't, then obviously you need to look at reinforcements. But you can't say that without having tried him first.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. We have to try it. So we'll move on to the midfield now. Obviously, we're just saying we need a CDM. And Jaden here, and I know he's a Liverpool fan, but I was speaking to him in DMs, and he was saying he would join the live stream. He's made a comment here saying midfield situation can be solved with your bench. So obviously we've got Donny van de Beek there, and it's a huge issue that he's not being used. Now, something tells me that he is definitely going to be used on Saturday. The reason for this is because against City, I don't. Yeah, so do I. I don't know if you heard on TV, but against City when Donny van de Beek came on, it was a very good reception he got. It was sort of a message to Ollie saying we need to see Donny van de Beek more. So something tells me surely he's going to be used, but then my head tells me Ollie doesn't really listen. He's stubborn. Do you know what I mean? So something else tells me he's not going to be used. Do you think a midfield of, let's say, Donny van de Beek, McTominay as a box-to-box, and Bruno Fernandes, do you think that's good enough? Or do you think we need another box-to-box midfielder?
I think if you're going to start them as a trio, that's not good enough because you need a CDM. And McTominay can't do that. I think Van de Beek, there's no doubt that Pogba's got talent, but the more balanced midfielder is definitely Van de Beek. He performs his attacking and defensive duties well. And I think Pogba's time has come and gone. I think he's finished in the squad right now. And if you were to give Van de Beek, like Dalot, a run-in for a while, then I think he could prove himself. But then again, I am unsure. Like, I want Donny van de Beek to start, but I'm unsure if he's at that top level. I think there are midfielders out there that we could buy that fit the category. Like who was Tielemans?
Yeah, I keep saying.
He hasn't signed his new contract yet with Leicester, and he is an extraordinary. I'd put him top 5 midfielders in the Premier League right now, to be honest. So he's definitely one I'd look at. Possibly Kessié at CDM. His contract is running out in the summer. That's right. I think that in January, we need to sign players, especially if Van de Beek leaves, because you need to prepare for him or Pogba leaving. One of them are definitely going to leave. So I think you need to bring in players, but I doubt that anything's going to happen.
No, yeah, I don't think anything will happen in January. Just touching on Pogba, what you said around Pogba, I was sort of saying the same thing. I've been saying it to Donny, who is in this chat, or Imani, like which is his other account. I was sort of saying it to him and to a few of my friends in a group chat that with me for Pogba, to warrant that he's currently on £360,000 a week, and he wants to be the highest paid Premier League player in history. To warrant that, you have to put consistent performances in. For me, there's so many factors that come into play with Pogba that it's just a headache. He doesn't perform consistently enough. We're seeing that every single few weeks. We're seeing maybe I'll leave, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll sign a contract, maybe I won't. And we've been seeing this since he joined, really, since the day he joined. And for me, it's a headache. And against Atalanta was where I sort of said, I'm done with Pogba now. I'm not ruling it out, because what I'm saying is, if Pogba does something special for us this season, and what I define as special is if he contributes a key part into us winning the Premier League or the Champions League, which is seriously unlikely. If he does that, then I want him to stay. However, it's too much of a headache for him to stay, in my opinion. I'm sort of done with Pogba now. Mentally, sort of, I don't think he's with United anymore. I'm not sure he really ever was, to be fair. It's just not worked out. It's sad. I'm going to compare him to someone who he's levels above, but it's a similar situation in my opinion. I'm going to compare him to Ndombele, Tanguy Ndombele. So they're both very good players. Obviously, Pogba's levels above Tanguy Ndombele, but I think they're both very good players. But I was listening to Gary Neville talking, and Gary Neville was saying, and I know it's rare at the moment for our fans to agree with Gary Neville, but Gary Neville was saying a few months ago, with Ndombele, you never know whether he's a centre defensive midfielder, a box-to-box midfielder, an attacking midfielder. He just seems to be all over the place. Now, with Pogba, I think that's the same. He just doesn't suit the Premier League. I think he'll go to the Liga or the La Liga, and we've seen him in the Serie A. He bossed it. I think he'll go and boss it somewhere else. Do you agree with that? That maybe he just doesn't suit the Premier League?
I don't. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you because he's been deployed in loads of areas on the left wing. Some argue that he's a number 10. Some argue that he's a number 8. But when he is a number 8, there's conditions. He needs a CDM that does all the work for him, or he needs two CDMs that does all the work for him. I just think that with this Man United side, we can't have a player that we can't build a team around Pogba.
No,
you've got too many superstars that are arguably more important. So I'd say that his time has come and gone. It is sad, like you said.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think you're completely spot on. I completely spot on. Sorry to interrupt you there. What was you going to say?
No, I was done.
Okay, so we're going to sort of move on to the exact topic that I was just asking you about. And I know you sort of touched on. You don't think there's a realistic great option for us out there for a new manager if we was to get a new manager now or in the summer. Who would you take if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked now? Let's say
if he was sacked now, I think the big are probably Brendan Rodgers, and I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah. The favourite is Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I just think with Rodgers, he's not well established enough. I'd prefer Zidane.
Yeah,
but even in my opinion, I wouldn't want Zidane. I know that's very
I agree.
Controversial. I don't think he would suit the Premier League. I don't think he could handle it. He done well under Real Madrid, of course he did, but I think I would go for Ten Hag. I know he isn't as established as Zidane, but his attacking style of football is just it really suits United's their whole DNA. It's just really good.
Yeah.
I think with Rodgers, I think his ceiling is Leicester City. I don't think Rodgers can escape. I don't think he can go higher than Leicester. He was at Liverpool. He nearly won the league, but it was out of his hands in the end. But he didn't. I don't think he peaked after that. No. After that season, never got close after that again.
No, yeah, I agree.
And I think that if he came to United, loads of fans would be against him instantly because he managed Liverpool. And I don't think he would suit United. Zidane, I would prefer over Rodgers, but ideally, I think if United are going for Rodgers, who's already, they both, Ten Hag and Rodgers are both in a club. If they can buy out Rodgers, why can't they buy out Ten Hag?
Oh yeah, they can definitely buy out Ten Hag. They're just choosing not to. They're choosing to sort of save money rather than. But I know that's definitely, it's sort of an issue which is linked in, but it's a separate issue as well, because if we were sat here discussing the Glazers, like we'd be here all day and all night. You know what I mean? There's so many issues with the Glazers, but for me, I agree with you that Zidane wouldn't suit United. I'm going to touch on Rodgers in a minute as well. I think I've mentioned it a few times on this channel about Zidane. I worry for it's one player especially, and that's Marcus Rashford under Zidane. Marcus Rashford, like, his work off the pitch is unbelievable. He's an inspiration to millions. Obviously, this country, he's done so much work for this country and people like me and like youth. Do you know what I mean? Like us young people. So I think Zidane wouldn't really be happy with Rashford doing that work. I don't think it would suit Zidane. I think it would be football and football only, which I wouldn't be happy with. So I worry for that. And touching on Rodgers, I know people are saying anyone over Ole, but what I've been saying is most managers in the league we've seen are now better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So it's not just anyone
Yeah.
over Ole, it's which manager can come in and challenge Pep, Klopp, and Tuchel. Now, I don't think that's Brendan Rodgers. I agree with you. I don't really think that's Brendan Rodgers. Whether that's Ten Hag, again, whether that's Zidane, we don't know. But I wouldn't want Brendan Rodgers at United. Although no matter which manager came in, I would back the manager. Do you know what I mean? Like I've tried to back. Well, I've backed Ollie till the very end, and we basically are at the end. He's going to be going after this season, surely. So one manager you again you will have seen that I like is Graham Potter. Now, again, there's the argument there whether he can win trophies. He's not done it with a top club. He's not done anything with a top club. But for me, he's a lot better than Brendan Rodgers. Again, I don't know about Ten Hag. I know Ten Hag's bossing it in the Champions League, so he's definitely not better than Ten Hag. But for me, Graham Potter, the way he's playing in the Premier League with that Brighton team, I'd love him at United. I think he could do wonders with this squad. Do you have any thoughts on Graham Potter? Or
I think with Graham Potter, I wouldn't really want him at United. I understand why certain fans would want him, but I just think right now we're at that stage where we should have been at this stage where there should have been the Premier League everything. This season should have been the one.
Yeah.
But it clearly, but that doesn't mean we have to start from square one. I think that we're at a stage where our squad is nearly there. We just need to add a few bits and pieces. And I think if you were to get an established manager that is proven, then I think in a few years, maybe 1 or 2 years, it could have a great impact.
Yeah.
I think with Rodgers, he's never really done it European. He was even with Liverpool in the Europa League and the Champions League.
He struggled.
With Leicester even. He never gets good results in Europe. And I think with Graham Potter, if he was the first, this would be his first big job if he was to get the job at Man United.
Yeah.
And I think that's too much of a risk.
I can see where you're coming from there. For me, I would take that risk personally, but then I wouldn't take it with Rodgers. I think the thing with Rodgers again is the fact that he managed Liverpool. I can't really take that away. Do you know what I mean? It's a hard thing to look past as a United fan. But we're going to go into something that sort of ties in with the manager, which I sort of touched on at the start with coaching staff. Now, for me, if Ollie goes, all the coaching staff have to go. You've got McKenna, Phelan, and Carrick are the main ones, aren't they? And then you've got Eric Ramsey, who was brought in, and there's obviously backroom staff like goalkeeping coaches, etc. I know the goalkeeping coach has been changed 3 times under Ollie. I've read that. But for me, they all have to go and new ones have to be brought in. Do you agree with that? Or would you keep 1 or 2?
The system we have right now, quite blatantly, is not a system. So I think if Ole was to go, you have to start from a clean slate. With Eric Ramsey, what's his name?
Ramsey, yeah.
He's the set piece. Yeah. He's the set piece. He's on set pieces.
Yeah.
And I thought we were going to improve this season, but it's been dreadful. Just like last season, there hasn't been an improvement.
It's been worse than last season.
So I think if Ole was to get the sack, and he should be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's shocking. I think they should all go, to be honest. They've been here for 3 years. They've had their chance, most of them. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Unfortunately, they couldn't handle it.
No.
So I think if Ole was to get sacked, they should leave as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. Obviously, there's not much to touch on with coaching staff because I don't know the best coaching staff, like the best in class or up and coming coaching staff, really. As that does go under the radar in football. But I'm going to touch on players outs especially. So with Donny van der Beek, I'm going to touch on Donny van der Beek because we don't want him to be sold. And again, it's a sad state of affairs, the situation. But we have to entertain the option of him being sold because it is a real possibility, whether we agree or disagree. So, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, would you hope that he gets sold and Donny van der Beek progresses his career at maybe Everton, Newcastle, or he's been linked with Barcelona? Or would you hope that he stays till the end of the season, Ollie goes, and then Donny van der Beek progresses with us I suppose it's sort of which is best for both parties, really.
Well, in the eyes, as a Manchester United fan, I would prefer that he stays obviously till the end of the season.
Yeah.
And wait till Oli goes, and he can progress under us. But if I was him, I definitely want to leave. And you can perfectly reason with him. He's a year and a half of his career has been hindered, and he's still young. He still has that progress. So even if he was to go to an Everton or a mid-table club, you can see in his future there would be that step up.
Yeah.
Because he's done it with Netherlands, with Ajax. I think if he was to go to Barcelona, he would partner De Jong perfectly in that midfield. I think he'd do really well there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. Again, if like saying if as a United fan, we hope he stays, but as sort of look at being sympathetic or empathetic, rather, you're sort of thinking if I was him, I would leave. Again, I probably if I was Donny van de Beek and I'm a United fan, I would not leave. But Donny van de Beek doesn't have that connection to the club, so I probably would leave if I was Donny van de Beek and not a United fan. But let's talk about Phil Jones. As I've seen there's like 12 clubs interested. Sorry, I'm just going to address this because 2 people have asked this question in live chat. Casper says, "Why do you have a mask?" Do you want to explain, or shall I explain?
It's not. I don't really know. You can explain, I guess.
So Zeeshan has a YouTube channel called The Masked Football Fan. And again, I've been interacting with him on Twitter for a while now, so that's why he has a mask. I appreciate you using your camera because I don't think you use your camera on your YouTube channel, do you? And again, like anonymity was sort of part of it.
No, I don't.
So I appreciate that, but that's why Zeeshan's got a mask on, just in case anyone's wondering. I know there's 8 people in here, it says. So I appreciate you for understanding if you're in the chat, and I'm sure Zeeshan will too. So right, we'll touch on Phil Jones. I've seen that there's 12 clubs in the English Football League, so obviously not the Premier League, that are interested. He's on £100,000 a week. I'm going to ask you this question because it's a very interesting question. If you was Phil Jones, would you decide to leave or would you let your contract run down?
Well, when does his contract end?
Is it 2025? 2025?
Yeah. Wow, that is crazy. If I was him, I would definitely stay. Have you heard the saying of there's no better job in the world than being a third choice goalkeeper?
Oh yeah.
Because you're training. Yeah, you're with all the big players, big stars, and you're getting paid, but you're never going to start a match.
Yeah.
That's just the dream job. But for Phil Jones, I think it's a bit of a difficult situation. Obviously, you're earning the money.
Yeah.
I can imagine in his situation, he's got kids, and like they would, I'd imagine, be on social media and see all this stuff about his dad, and it can't be too pleasant.
No. Not at all. It's obviously a difficult one, the social media abuse. I know that Phil Jones has come off social media. I don't know if you've seen that. Because United sort of did a podcast with him a few weeks ago. It might have been around a month ago now. And Phil Jones was talking about why he came off social media. He didn't obviously directly say, I'm getting too much hate. He just said it can get quite toxic, etc., which it obviously can. With Phil Jones, like you say, it's a difficult one because, again, it's not his fault he's not good enough. And it's not his fault that he's on £100,000 a week. He was offered that contract and he accepted that contract. That's not his fault. We would all probably accept that contract if offered. So, and again, it's also not his fault that he's very injury prone. His body's just... He's probably not cut out to be a professional footballer at this. Well, definitely not cut out to be a professional footballer at this level physically. In the sense of, can his body take it? Because his body clearly can't take it. He's constantly injured. With Phil Jones, it's a matter of who will take him off our hands, really, isn't it? Like, and not to be disrespectful, I know he's been linked with Newcastle, but is he any better than what Newcastle have got? Probably not.
Especially now.
Yeah,
especially now because of their
exactly.
takeover.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that they'd invest
No,
in him.
surely not. So it's a matter of whether we can shift. I think if we can shift Phil Jones, that's an achievement in the board level. Obviously, not again. No disrespect to the man or the footballer of as Phil Jones. It's just it's an added extra issue in the squad. The fact that he's on £100,000 a week and not playing. Again, we've touched on Pogba, but I'm gonna just ask you: would you get rid of him in January, or would you give him the rest of the season?
Well, I think he's injured till January,
Oh,
isn't he?
is Pogba injured?
He might be out to the end of this year.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's
missed
injured
that.
until the end of
Yeah, I missed that.
2021.
Yeah, sorry, I completely forgot about that. I seen he got injured in, was it a calf injury or something like that in training?
It was mad. If you saw the video, it was mad. He kicked the ball, and then all of a sudden he touched his leg, and he got injured from that. And apparently he's out for the rest of the year,
You see, obviously,
which is crazy, unfortunately.
obviously, I hope he's in no pain, etc. Um, it's a quite a difficult situation that like it's a difficult question that I'm going to say here. Do you think that the injuries are exaggerated to a certain extent? Do you think like no doubt that he's injured, but do you think he could be back sooner than we are told by Pogba and his agent?
I think that it's, it's just he's not been getting the game time he wants recently.
No.
So possibly, I'm not sure, to be honest.
No, yeah, I agree. It's again, it's obviously a difficult situation that we're in with Pogba because he's on so much money. He was at the time, for like 3, 4, 5 years. He was a sort of poster boy for the club. Now we've got Ronaldo, and then when Ronaldo leaves, it'll be Rashford that's the poster boy. He's basically the poster boy for the country, Rashford. So we don't really need Pogba for commercial, despite it being obviously beneficial.
We've outgrown him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It will be beneficial to keep him as a commercial point of view, but I believe that the obviously the football outweighs the commercial point of view, and he just doesn't perform consistently enough. It's just proven. I know there's people that believe in him. And I will back him every single game he plays, and I will chant his name, etc. But it's again, it's a situation where it's like I've got if you stay in now and you sign this contract, which is going to make you the highest paid Premier League player in history, you've got to perform week in, week out, most games. You can't like constantly be injured or constantly be causing a headache in the media, which he's done for years now. It's. I remember in 2019 in April when we drew 1-1 with Chelsea, there was stories about him going Madrid, and it's just constantly in the media. It's again frustrating for us as fans, and it must be frustrating for the squad because you've got people like Rashford, who I always refer to Rashford, but Rashford has stayed with us through Europa League in the trenches. Do you know what I mean? And I know he's a homegrown talent, etc. But he didn't have to stay at that point. He could go anywhere he wants. Rashford, he's one of the world's best players. Well, not one of, you know what I mean. He's one of the world's best attackers. But I'm gonna ask you here, what next for this season? Because we are all feeling drained, obviously, with United, and we've just had some relief with international. Realistically, what do you think is next for this season?
Well, I think we're knocked out the Carabao Cup. That would have been an ideal cup, even if it doesn't really represent much. I think it would have had significance to us because we haven't won a trophy for the past 4 years. I think the FA Cup, we need to go for that.
Yep.
And top 4, we need to guarantee top 4, because if we don't get top 4, that's just a mess, to be honest. No manager, I don't think, would want to come to us if we're not in the Champions League. Ronaldo, you don't even know what might happen with him.
Exactly, yeah.
And players, even you want to reinforce players, but if we're not in the Champions League, it'll be crazy. And I think if Ole stays, and it's detrimental to our Champions League campaign and getting into next season, that would be a huge impact. Obviously, getting as far as we can in the Champions League, that's also very important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't know if you've seen when we drew against Atalanta and Ronaldo scored that last minute equaliser. I was sort of joking on Twitter saying, I was half joking, half not. So it was like tongue in cheek. I was saying like something like, fuck it, we'll win the Champions League on individual brilliance and finish 8th. And I keep repeating myself now. Obviously, I'm half joking and still hoping that. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's the hope that kills with United. But I do believe, again, I do believe that we can do it, but I just don't believe that we will do it. Like this squad, I feel like even away from Ollie, I feel like this squad, the mentality in this squad is not full of winners. I know we've got Ronaldo and we've got Pogba who have won basically all there is to win between them, but we've got players that just haven't got that mentality of winning and turning up in the final. Like McTominay turned up in the Europa League final, but who else turned up? Who else did turn up? Do you know what I mean? So
I don't think there are many leaders in our.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Let me just address a comment here. Jamie, I've just read your comment at Pitch Invaders. I appreciate that message. I'm not going to put it on the screen, but I appreciate that message. If you want to talk on Twitter DM, we'll talk on Twitter DM. Hope you're all right. I appreciate that message. But I'm going to ask you a question here now. Where do you think we're going to, how far do you think we're going to get to in the Champions League, let's say?
So, in my mind, I have a fantasy where we get out of the group stages, top of our group. We play Dortmund. Sancho scores a hat-trick against them. We win. We play PSG. We beat them. And then we play Real Madrid in the semis. And I'm not sure, but I haven't got to the final yet. But that's just the list that I've come up with. Probably won't happen, but you know.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Them sort of like dreams or fantasies really like make me smile. You know what I mean? I think if like I'm thinking about the nights that's happening on and the enjoyment, rather than being stressed of United. But we never make life easy. United never make life easy, but we can only hope. I've not lost hope. I never will lose hope. But it's gonna be a crazy season because no matter what we do, it's always chaos. Whether we're coming back, whether we're losing, it's always chaos. But we can only hope it's chaos in a good way. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, and we can only hope that Ollie proves us wrong. Whether people are Ollie out, Ollie in, etc., etc., etc. We can only hope that Ollie proves us wrong. We all, at the end of the day, want Man United to succeed, so we can only hope that. We're gonna go on to one of the last topics, which is one topic, but in sort of three topics. In rebuild, time, and money. So, first of all, do you think that we require a rebuild, or we will require a rebuild in the summer, similar to how we did in 2018 and 2019?
I think probably, yeah. If you, I think we do. We need some sort of rebuild because the mentality needs to change. As you've gone over, we need new players, but a new type of player. If you get what I'm saying, we brought in Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James, Harry. These players over the years, they haven't had that winning feeling. Like Varane and Ronaldo, they like them. We need players like that can push the team forwards. Yeah. And if we do, I think it will just improve the whole aura in the changing rooms and everywhere. It will provide the motivation for everyone else to up their game.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, it's winners. It's winners, and I know we as United are known for just buying winners and making like winning everything by buying winners, if that makes sense. We're known for making winners, so we made Bobby Charlton. Dennis Law came to us and won George Best. Obviously, this is many, many years ago, and then you've got the class of '92, and you've got, do you know what I mean? You've got all these players which have come through, and I know United are not sort of that club that just buys winners, but at the end of the day, we do need to sort of we need some winners in the squad, if that makes sense. Because again, it's difficult. Because let's say Eric Cantona, when we bought Eric Cantona, despite him never have won anything, he acted like he won everything. Do you know what I mean? He was the boss. I get a sort of similar vibe from Eric Cantona as Varane, if that makes sense, but not. I would never compare Eric Cantona's vibe to anyone because he's one of his own. But Varane, he sort of chest out, I've won things, you know what I mean? And I love that confidence. Again, obviously, Ronaldo is Ronaldo. He's won everything, and he is a winner. We know that. But I believe that this squad, again, like you say, does need winners. It needs players. I don't even know who I would say right now that it needs, but it needs a mentality shift. I don't believe. I'm going to give an example in that Europa League final. Despite it's like tactics aside, everything else aside, to do with the coaching staff and the management, I don't believe that the players truly believed that we could win that game, except for Rashford and McTominay. I don't believe that anyone believed that we could win that. And I know we took it right to the wire to penalties, which it never should have been like that. But it's the belief. It's that never say die, never give up. Which we do seem to have in the squad sometimes with the comebacks that we get, with the comeback that we had against West Ham, which the shirt that you've got on actually reminds me of that comeback now. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of the face of that comeback. Your light's just gone off there. There we go. It's back on now. So with that rebuild that you think we need, and I think we need, do you think, how long do you think it's going to take? Do you think it's going to take 2 years, maybe 3, or just 1 year?
I'd say probably 2 years before we can enter the title again. I don't think this season or next season. I think probably the season after that is when we can have a real push. Because if we were to get a manager, say next season, I think they need a bit of time to improve places where they want, build a system again. So probably
I'd say 2 years too. Again, we do need a new manager. Obviously, we've gone over this time and time again, and everyone's going over it time and time again every single day. But I would argue that getting a new manager, although it will help, will not change everything instantly. It's going to take time to implement these tactics, to implement this tactic, and this tactic, and this transition in play, and this transition in play. And also, it's going to take time to get to know these big personalities. Obviously, everyone knows Ronaldo, everyone knows Pogba, everyone knows Rashford, but to know them on a level to be able to coach them and know everyone's style. For example, Jose Mourinho didn't know the style of how Luke Shaw needed to be sort of coached. Luke Shaw needs an arm around him rather than sort of public harassment, which it kind of was. So it's going to take time for our manager to get to know this. So I feel like when we do get a new manager, for anyone that is watching, there's not many people, it's 5 people in here. For anyone that is watching, just give them time, is all we can say. And I know it seems to be a running joke at the moment that Ollie's been given too much time. But at the end of the day, all we can give is time. Now, money, I'm going to touch on money before we end. Now, Ollie, I think, has Ollie had like 400 million to spend? He spent 400 million all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. About 450, yeah.
Yeah, and the recruitment hasn't been great. Like, it just hasn't. We've took gambles here, there, and everywhere. But how much money do you think the new manager will need without you saying that, oh, we need this specific player? How much money realistically? Sort of a ballpark figure.
I'd say probably around 200 million.
Yeah.
150 to 200.
I'd probably say 100 to 150.
Just because of the market.
It's very, like, people say it's inflated. It's an inflated market. I wouldn't say it's inflated. I would just say there's so much more money in football now. People are going to the games more than ever. Obviously, before lockdown, like I know we had that 1.5 year break, sort of gap, but people are going to the football more than ever. People are subscribing to this channel and this channel and this channel more than ever. Do you know what I mean? In this country, it's Sky Sports and BT. In other countries, it will be like Fox Sports, Premier League TV. I know exists. It'll be is it DAZN is a new channel as well. So there's more money in football. So the market is just the market is just completely ruined. It's not ruined. It's just so high that it's never going to really come down again. Personally, I don't think it will. So we'll just end this on a positive note here. Obviously, if there's any United fans watching, which there has been, there's been around 5 or 6 United fans in the chat, it's probably quite draining to hear us talking about this for nearly 50 minutes. But we'll end it on a positive note. What are you hoping for this season, realistically? Because we're not going to win the league, so and the possibility of winning the Champions League is still there. So realistically, what you're hoping for this season?
I want us to, I think, progress through to the quarterfinals of the league. I think we can do that, at least at a minimum.
Yeah.
Possibly, I think we could win the FA Cup. Honestly, if we win the FA Cup, that doesn't prevent the second goal. Ole, I think the board knows. Van Gaal, he won the FA Cup and he got sacked.
Oh yeah.
So I think if we win the FA Cup, it doesn't prolong Ole's stay, but it gives us a trophy.
Yeah.
And obviously top.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think we can win the FA Cup. And if we do win the FA Cup, like I say, it doesn't prolong Ollie's reign as United manager. But I think what it does is it sort of looks, we can look at that sort of reign and think it wasn't a total failure. If you're looking at it now and he leaves, sort of, it's quite heartbreaking if he leaves now, although it's best for the club. Because it's been such a failure in the sense of we've not won any trophies. You could say at least we won one trophy, even though it wasn't a major trophy. Obviously, I'm trying to look on the bright side there. I think we can get top 4, definitely. I don't think we've got a chance at winning the league. And I think we can win the Champions League. I'm gonna say we'll get to the semis and get knocked out though. With the league, I'm just gonna give an outside shout. I don't.
That's a reasonable.
Yeah, for sure. With the league, I don't want to sort of be overreactionary or whatever, but I'm gonna give an outside shout and say West Ham could win the league, and I'd prefer them to win the league over Liverpool and City and Chelsea. I genuinely think
West Ham.
I genuinely think they could. The level on points with City and 3 points behind Chelsea. I don't see why not. Why can't they do a Leicester? Do you know what I mean? I know how unrealistic it is, but they seem really, really good. I can only hope that they win it rather than City, Liverpool, or Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But then if they win it, what's the chances that we're going to get top 4?
It's probably low. So again, it swings and roundabouts in it. Would we rather top 4 and either them 3 teams that I've just mentioned, Chelsea, City, and Liverpool, win it? Would probably prefer top 4. Don't want Liverpool to equal our title tally though. So it's obviously a very difficult. It's a very difficult situation. I just want to say thank you for coming on, Zeeshan. I've left a link to Zeeshan's channel down below and Zeeshan's Twitter as well. Make sure to leave a like on the stream, and I appreciate everyone that's been in chat. It was a great chat, that Zeeshan. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It was a great chat. I appreciate that a lot for you coming on. I'm just going to end that live stream there. Thank you guys, and see you later. It's not ending. I can't end the stream, guys. I can't end the stream. You can leave. You can leave. I just can't end the stream right now. You can leave if you need to leave. I'm going to refresh the page. See you later.
Okay.
Right, guys, I'm just going to try and end this. See you later, mate. Just going to try and end this stream. It's proper. It's not letting me...